Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Friday, February 3rd. I'm your host, Kate Walker. It's been the warmest January on record, but that won't be the case this weekend. A blast of Arctic air is expected to pass through tonight into tomorrow, with wind chills expected to drop in some areas down to -40. Our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, has more on how the cold snap will affect us here in HRM.
Thanks, Kate. Well, thankfully, this bitter blast of Arctic air will be short-lived. Temperatures do moderate later this weekend, but we do have dangerous wind chills that will develop tonight and especially for early Saturday morning. But beginning here in Halifax, you can see temperatures started the day mild. It was near 3 degrees in the city with a southwest wind, but as that cold front crossed the province, you can see temperatures fell back to and then below freezing as wind shifted over to the west and the northwest. And you can see those wind chills starting to settle in this afternoon too. Now along that front we also had some snow squall activity, and you can see it as it moved through New Brunswick and PEI. Some of those bands did brush into the Halifax area mid-morning. I did receive some reports of whiteout conditions in parts of HRM, so travel was tricky briefly, but overall the day wasn't too bad. Just the falling temperatures, but the big story will be the temperature profile over the next 24 hours. And you can see as we take a look at the temperature and wind chill, late this evening, we're near -22, and then as we go into Saturday morning, near -24. I think it could even get a bit cooler, maybe near -26 and possibly -28 if you're further inland. And that wind chill in the morning will be near -37, could even get as cold as -39. So these are dangerous wind chills that do need to be taken seriously. Frostbite can occur on exposed skin in as little as 10 to 30 minutes, so you need to make sure if you are out early tomorrow morning to make sure you are very well dressed for this weather. Hypothermia also a concern. As we look at the temperature profile as we go throughout the day tomorrow, you can see temperatures do start to rise as we go through the afternoon into the evening. Still going to be a cold day. -15 looks to be the high tomorrow. Wind chill values will still be well into the -20, so it's going to be a very cold day for Halifax, so bundle up if you have to be outside. And the cold temperature is not the only thing to contend with this weekend. Some of us will be getting snow squalls, and I'll have more on that coming up.
And Alistair will be back in the weather section with more on how the cold weather will affect the rest of the province and when it's expected to warm back up. And as the cold weather approaches, the province has been working on a plan to keep those who are experiencing homelessness safe. Shelter Nova Scotia released their extreme cold weather plan with various shelter locations, including overnight hours. There will be resources available across HRM, Cape Breton Municipality, New Glasgow, Kentville, Truro, and Amherst. For many sleeping rough in downtown Halifax, the North Park Street shelter is open from 5 p.m. tonight until 9 a.m. Sunday. The St. Matthew's United Church on Barrington Street will also be open those same hours.
We have a warming center, which is Christ Church over in Dartmouth, and we're extending beds there. We will have a total of 30 beds there for folks, right? And that is walk-in, right? That will open up at 8 o'clock tonight, right? That will stay open for 24 hours right up until Sunday, right? And folks can get in out of the cold. They'll receive sandwiches, lunch, as well as a hot meal there, right? That 902 Man Up will pay for, right? Same with all of our other locations. The Kennard Street Daycare, that is opening up as well, right? And then we have North Park Shelter where we're at, and we're doing an additional 10 beds here, I believe, right? Where folks will be able to get in as well.
There will also be transit available in HRM to get people to shelters that are not easily accessible. Changes to the residential tenancies program take effect today. Landlords can now raise rent on a date other than the anniversary of a lease being signed. The province says they cannot raise rent more than once in a 12-month period and must continue to give at least 4 months' notice before rent can be raised. The temporary 2% rent cap is still in place for tenants renewing a residential lease or signing a fixed-term lease for the same unit. Minimum wage in Nova Scotia will be going up to $15 earlier than expected. It was announced today that the province has accepted recommendations from the Minimum Wage Review Committee, setting the minimum wage at $15 an hour on October 1st, 6 months sooner than scheduled. The minimum wage, which is currently $13.60, will increase twice this year, April 1st to $14.50, then October 1st to $15. The committee also recommended the minimum wage increase annually based on the National Consumer Price Index, plus an additional 1% effective April 1st, 2024. Nova Scotia cruise ports are hoping to make a full recovery from pandemic lows and are preparing for growth with over 300 expected vessel calls across the province. The 2023 cruise season will kick off April 22nd in Halifax with the arrival of the Norwegian Dawn. Some other ports looking forward to cruises this year include Shelburne, Lunenburg, Pictou County, and Louisbourg. The Port of Halifax is expecting 191 vessel calls carrying approximately 325,000 cruise guests, and Sydney is expecting 112 vessels and over 200,000 guests. After cruise ships shut down during COVID-19, there was some growth and recovery last year, and the hope is that it will only go up this year. The CEO of the Port of Sydney says this year will be a record-breaking year for Sydney, as they have surpassed their pre-COVID numbers and are positioned well for the future. It's time for another edition of Wine of the Week with SaltWire sommelier Mark DeWolf. With the temperature expected to plummet this weekend, Mark has selected a wine to cozy up indoors with.
So today I'm heading to South Africa and having a fun little wine called the Spotted Hound Red Blend. So what is it? Well, it's a blend of Grenache, Carignan, Mourvèdre, and Cinsault. And I'd suggest this wine's a little bit different for South Africa. I think this is definitely made in that modern, fresh style. So when you think about what the kids are drinking these days, they tend to be not over oaked, tend to be a bit more fruit forward, and they're looking for a little freshness in the wine. And this wine definitely gives it because it's got a bit of a floral and spice nose, a little bit of red fruit. And there's certainly some acidity in the background, really a unique style for South Africa that I think is really impressive. So I think for this wine, for about $20, if you're into fresher styles, this is a wine you should have. I would happily sit down and have a Cape Malay curry and this red wine. So anyway, look for it. It's in select stores at the NSLC. It's a great, fresh interpretation of South Africa.
And for more wine picks, recipes, and interviews with local food and drink personalities, head to the Wine and Dine section of saltwire.com. It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with Andrew Hebda, a retired curator of zoology with the Museum of Natural History. They're talking about the impact of the extreme cold on wildlife.
It's like above freezing in some communities right now, down to minus 25 tonight, and then perhaps back up to above freezing temperatures on Sunday into Monday. What does that do to the wildlife? It seems as though if there's not a consistency that it may cause an issue. What, from your experience, does this tell you?
Well, it's a question of how quickly the changes occur. If it's a slow drop in temperature and a slow increase in wind, basically, then they just most of the animals that we see, and of course we're not seeing any insects or other invertebrates right now. They'll change their activity patterns. If you think about it, most of the large animals we see outside tend to be nocturnal, which means that they're active at night, which is when the temperatures are down. So essentially, what they're going to do is they're going to go undercover. Essentially, the temperature itself per se is not that important, but it's the wind is the big issue because, again, if there was no wind whatsoever, you could be down to minus 20 or minus 30 without too much difficulty. You could go out there and you could forage, you could hunt for prey, no problem. But once you get that wind, it's costing you a lot more energy, and that's the whole point. Is they've only got so much energy to be able to survive through the winter in good condition and or survive, period. And so with that, every time you get these massive demands on that energy, in this case to keep warm, then of course you're decreasing your chances, your survivability later in the spring. So one single blast like this, we may get some effects on that. But from the animal's point of view, if we get these blast and then blast and blast and blast, each time it happens, they run into problems.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
The Mi'kmaq Warriors of the East Coast Junior Lacrosse League have a new coach, and it's Mitch Hannigan. Mitch, great to have you here. Congratulations on being named coach of the team. How does it feel to be the head man now for this club?
It feels great. I'm coming into a situation with a lot of great people involved. So I'm very excited to, continue the hard work that they've been putting forth the last couple of years, and just kind of refocus it and kind of reestablish our name in the league.
For anyone that may not be familiar with the East Coast Junior Lacrosse League and the quality of play, what do you want them to know, and why should they come out and watch a game when the season starts up?
It's called the fastest game on 2 feet. I firmly believe that this is a sport where athleticism is key, and it makes you a better athlete. I have a hard time even understanding people who see lacrosse and don't say, "Wow, that's pretty interesting." It's just in my brain, it's such a marketable sport. And maybe that's where my passion comes from. But I think that once you see it, it's something that you're not going to walk away from, and it's something that you're not going to find a better bang for your buck at $5 a ticket for anybody over 18. So I think that if you got an evening to spare, come and do yourself a favor and come watch a game.
The East Coast Junior Lacrosse League Male Combine is scheduled for 1 p.m. tomorrow, February 4th, at Scotiabank Centre in Halifax. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now. To see what's coming up in the forecast, we're going to check back in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Thanks, Kate. Well, I mentioned earlier the temperature not the only thing to contend with this weekend. We do have some onshore snow activity that will set up over much of the province, and if you do have any travel plans, you will want to pay close attention to the forecast. So let's take a look at the weather timeline. We'll begin early this evening. We have cloud cover, precipitation, and I've added on the temperature with the wind chill so you can see what it's going to be like where you are. You can see starting out this evening, relatively cloudy across the province. Some onshore snow flurries, though, moving in along the Bay of Fundy coastline, so from the Annapolis Valley into southwestern Nova Scotia, and as well over Cape Breton, developing off the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Northumberland Strait. As we go through the evening into the overnight hours, here we are tomorrow morning. It's going to be a bitter start to the day. Wind chill values between minus 35 and minus 45 across the entire province. Temperatures themselves will be in the minus 20s. We could see a few areas that do touch minus 30. So it's going to be bone-chilling temperatures out there tomorrow. And we continue to have the onshore snow that will impact communities along the Bay of Fundy coastline down into southwestern Nova Scotia. So even areas such as Yarmouth, and as well some streamers moving in off the Northumberland Strait and the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Now, if you're along the Atlantic coast, say in Halifax, a few of these flurries could reach you. Overall, the risk is low to moderate. Won't be as severe as the Valley and Cape Breton, but if you do have travel plans and you encounter one of these squalls, they can be very localized. You can have whiteout conditions with very heavy snow, so do take care if you have to be on the roads. Here we are tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures starting to rise. Wind chills still bitter, though. We still have the onshore snow on Cape Breton, and it looks like the activity will start to ease along the Bay of Fundy coastline as we start to see winds become lighter. As we go through Saturday night, temperatures will continue to slowly rise. It will still be cold out there, that onshore snow activity persisting if you're in Cape Breton. And then winds will start to shift over to the south and the southwest as we go through Sunday. So as you can see, temperatures rising back to near and above freezing throughout the day on our Sunday. We have another disturbance that will move through on Sunday. That will bring a bit of snow, likely mixing over to some rain showers. But as we take a look at the frostbite times, because I do think that's the main concern with this cold tomorrow morning, you can see wind chills, as I mentioned, minus 35 to minus 45. That means frostbite can occur in as little as 10 to 15 minutes. So do take extreme precaution if you have to be outside early tomorrow morning. As we take a look at the snowfall outlook, to map out kind of all that snowfall accumulation I just talked about. The heaviest amounts will be in Cape Breton, where 15 to as much as 30 centimeters is possible in western Cape Breton. Sydney showing about 1 to 5. However, the bands often set up in a way that they move into Sydney as well, so we could see as much as 10 to locally 15 centimeters. Likely not a whole lot for most of the North Shore. Some of those bands, though, will clip at Antigonish County. And then the accumulation from the Annapolis Valley into the southwest corner of Nova Scotia to Yarmouth, generally 5 to 15 centimeters. As we take a look at the winds, they will be very brisk over the next 24 to 36 hours as we go through the night tonight. From the west and the northwest, gusting 50 up to 80 kilometers per hour. Some exposed coastlines could see gusts that are a bit higher, but you can see throughout the day on Saturday it's going to be very brisk. If you do have to be outside, please do bundle up. And then as we go through Saturday night into Sunday, you can see that temperatures, or I should say winds, start to ease. Temperatures rise thanks to winds shifting over to the southwest. As we take a look at your 7-day forecast, we have the onshore snow tomorrow, and it's going to be cold, but then up to 4 on Sunday and 6 on Monday. Snow to rain on Sunday, few lingering showers Monday. Looking relatively fair next week with temperatures above normal. A weak disturbance likely on Wednesday to bring some showers, and could see a system next Friday. But if you do have to be outside this weekend, please make sure to bundle up and stay safe. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here Monday.